makes her more than worthy of this particular honor. There have always been many shining stars in the Berks County Library community of staff, trustees, friends, and volunteers. One of the most incandescent is Linda Baer. The board of the Friends of the Berks County Public Library wholeheartedly endorses the nomination of Linda Baer, our powerhouse president, for the Dreisbach Award for Exemplary Service. Linda Baer has been a dynamic and successful leader of the Friends, and her new ideas have sparked a transformation in the organization. Linda did spend a lot of time on essential, traditional Friends projects, such as Book Bonanza, which raises thousands of dollars each year for the county-wide summer reading program. She edited Bookends, the Falusa award-winning BCPL newsletter. She made evening visits to local library friends groups to give advice and encouragement, and she attended many system meetings to publicize Friends activities. She arranged annual Friends forums, bringing in helpful speakers. That's not all. Besides all this, she believed that the Friends could achieve much more. She led the group to offer money-making cultural events, including the elaborate luncheons for John Grogan of Marley and Me fame, and for Jennifer, Shiverini, I should know that, right? Author of the Elm Creek Quilts novels. At the latter, Linda raffled off a quilt she had personally purchased to raise money for the libraries. She spent weeks negotiating with authors' agents and was able to fill the Scottish Rite Cathedral with fans of Jodi Picoult. Wow. She organized a quilt challenge in which quilters could illustrate their favorite book with needle and thread. There's more. She devised the Cats in the Library contest. The finished cats were displayed at Goggleworks and then auctioned, earning for all the libraries a total of $4,000. Concerned that library funding was steadily decreasing, Linda worked with filmmaker and former BCPL president Jack Roming to produce the Pennsylvania Citizens for Better Libraries award-winning So Much More Than Books, which is currently available right on the BCPL website.
Or for sale.
This heartfelt and effective movie includes interviews with local library users and encourages increased municipal support. Because many libraries have so little operating money that an emergency could devastate them, Linda led the Friends Board in starting a rainy day fund with the Berks County Community Foundation. This has the potential, once publicized with her 15-point program, to benefit libraries far into the future. The Friends are understandably proud of Linda because of all her above-mentioned accomplishments. Most important, however, was her 2005 Libraries Rock Spread the Word advocacy campaign, which succeeded in convincing the county commissioners to increase library funding. Libraries Rock bumper stickers, buttons, magnets, posters, bookmarks, balloons, and rulers blanketed Berks, encouraging residents to tell the commissioners how library cuts had affected them and to request sufficient and stable library funding. Linda spearheaded this months-long PR campaign of letters to the editor, an information booth at the mall, a stand at Scenic River Days, a bookmark contest for children, and a poster contest for teens, all designed to show widespread popular support for a dedicated library millage. Because of Linda's leadership and the hard work of friends and staff, funding increased in 2006. The system presented her with a well-deserved certificate of appreciation. And I must comment that I worked with Linda on this program. It wasn't just an increase, it was a 32, 33% increase. Was it 36? Yeah, I remember 33. 36% increase, which is phenomenal. Before joining Friends of BCPL, Linda was a longtime favorite English teacher at Conrad Weiser High School. Parents credit her with making book lovers of their children. After her retirement, Linda joined the staff of Reading Public Library as a special projects coordinator. She has been instrumental in organizing an RPL Friends group and braving the elements of the Reading Phillies Celebrate Our Libraries games has promoted the library to local fans. During the dismal days of last year's funding crisis, she stood for hours on Cold Street corners near RPL Main and its 3 branches. Her enthusiastic rallies, with their honk if you love library signs, Through community support, hers was the face of library determination in many of the Reading Eagle photos. Many exceptional people devote their lives to libraries in Berks County, spreading their efforts and expertise over scores of years. But few can match the intensity of involvement shown by Linda Baer over the last decade. Acclaimed author Maya Angelou has noted that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. We might not remember the details of her innumerable projects, but we will never forget how inspired we are by her devotion to libraries, her effervescence, her thoughtful generosity, her clever ideas, her strong work ethic, her ebullient sense of humor, and her magnetic personality. Her tenacity and dedication are legendary. We can never properly thank her for all she has done to confront our library's overwhelming challenges. All associated with the Berks County Public Libraries join the Friends in saying, thank you, Linda. We're honored to present you with the 2010 Dreisbach Award for Exemplary Service.
Thank you so much. I didn't realize that Ruth was going to read all of that, and I was wondering at the time if it was rude to say, oh, for God's sake. My husband's nodding off, for God's sake. This is such an honor, and it is such a thrill to receive this award. I cannot tell you. And I feel very blessed to have been nominated by the Friends with whom I've worked for God knows how many years. I think since I was a teenager. But we've had a great time, and we do wonderful things, and I'd like to tell you how I got here, and I promise not to talk too long, maybe. When I was 5, my mother took me to the Reading Public Library, and I remember that we went down into the basement to the children's department from the Franklin Street entrance. It was my sister Doss and me, and I can remember that as vividly as if it were yesterday, and I'm 65. I continued to go to Reading because it was the only library at the time, and throughout high school, whenever I had a project to do, I'd go to Reading. There was a spiral staircase, and I hated going up it, but I loved being up on this mezzanine, second floor now, and looking down on everyone and exploring the books. Loved going there. Time passed, and I grew up, and I became an English teacher. But that love of books and love of libraries stayed with me always. And in about 1985, 86, we lose track of time as we get older, I was involved in going to the local libraries. I live in Western Berks, and there were 3, Wernersville, Robizonia, and Womelsdorf. And I would say to my husband, I'm going to the libraries, and I'd leave home, and I'd go to Womelsdorf first, and then I'd go to Robizonia, and then I'd go to Sinking Spring. And I'd take books out of all of them, because the worst thing for me was always that I would not have a book. But I didn't know a whole lot about the county libraries or about the system or anything. But I thought these libraries were so great, and if it weren't for the libraries, I had to buy books or use the library at school, which had a limited number of things for adults. So I was trying to teach my students, my seniors, some civic responsibility, and so I told them that if they donated money for a book for each of the libraries in their own particular town, whatever money they got, I would supplement to make sure that we could buy 1 book for each library in the name of their class. So that's what we did. And we were able to buy 3 books, 1 for Wernersville, 1 for Womelsdorf, and 1 for Robizonia. And every day they would bring in their pennies or their quarters, and we'd collect them, and then I'd add the rest of the money. So that was a small lesson for them, but it also created a tension for me, because I got a call a couple months later from Glenn Reber, who was a county commissioner at the time, and he asked me if I wanted to be on the system library board. And I'm afraid the only thing I heard was library. And so I got off the phone and I was really excited, and I said to my husband that I was going to be on this library board, and I didn't know anything else, but Glenn said that I should call Susan Wagner, who was the librarian at that time, which I did, and I became a member of the system board. Then I served there, and while I was a member of that board, Susan Wagner left the system. And so the board was left with the job of hiring a new system administrator. And I was on the committee. I was one of two of the people who was responsible for calling the candidates and setting up appointments, interviewing them over the phone and setting up appointments. I'm happy to say that I was on that board that hired Julie Reinhardt as assistant Oh yeah! That is one of the best things I've ever done, and when there's no one else in the room who's on the board, I claim full responsibility. Well, you know. So that's how I got there. And then I retired from teaching, and when you teach in a high school, it's really exciting. And I began to have withdrawal pains, and I wanted to do something else. So I started applying for jobs, and I got a couple interviews, and then I turned them down. I had an interview in Philadelphia, came out to my friend, said, oh, it sounded really good. That was Friday. Monday morning at 8, I called and said, you know, I have to withdraw my name. And then there was this ad in the paper for the Reading Public Library, and it seemed heaven sent. So it was the last day that the ad was running, and I ran in, I had the interview. It was for Special Projects Coordinator, and lo and behold, I don't know who was more surprised, whether it was Laura Bello who interviewed me, or me, that they offered me the job that day, and that's where I've been ever since. And it is fabulous. But it's interesting how it comes full circle. The boss at the time was Norman Dickinson, and he appointed me to the Friends Board. I didn't even know what a Friends Board was, and for a long time I didn't say anything at the meetings. I can give you references. But then we came to a point, after about a year and a half, we had no president. The woman who was in charge was great, but she moved away, and so I decided that I would run for president because nobody else would do it. And I was getting tired of being quiet. So I did, and I have been president ever since, and God only knows how long that is. But it has been a wonderful experience. I have loved every minute of it. And if I've accomplished anything, it's because of the people on that board. It's because of the camaraderie we have. It's because that we are all library nuts, and because we work so hard together. Nobody does everything that was read by herself or himself, and I didn't either. And it's important that you know that there are people who have to be thanked. The first person I'd like to thank is my boss, Frank Kasperwitz. He's the director of the Reading Public Library, and he has been 152% supportive of everything the Friends have done. He has, as soon as he knows that there's an event coming up where I bring up a subject to him, he says, what do you need? How can we help? Do you want us to do this? And he has always, always done that. He recognizes the importance of the Friends, and he supports all of the libraries. And I could not do what I do without his support and without his blessing to go to meetings, to meet with commissioners, to stand on street corners. And so for that, I thank him. Thank you, Frank. And I have to thank my husband, who is the most patient of all men. And he would agree, he just went. Because he has heard more library stories and more moaning about a lack of money and how people are inconsiderate than I have heard fish stories. And if you are married or know a fisherman, you know that's a whole lot of stories. And he has always been very supportive, and he listens to the minutiae and the details, and he actually remembers. And that's a really, really great gift. So thank you. And I have to thank the Friends Board, because I love these people. I love this Friends group. It's why although I resigned as president, because they were getting sick of me, and I'm not dumb, but I love them, and that's why I stayed on the board. and they did a great job. And I know some of them here, some are not here. So if you're here, stand up. Damn it. Diane Beansdresser, Carol Burkhart. Stand, Carol, you're in the back. I see you. Liz Eshelman. Matt Goldstein. Sandra Hansen. Linda Hodgson. She couldn't be here. Stay standing. Stay standing. We're giving you a round of applause. Get up. Mary Ann Morella couldn't be with us. Marilyn Ford. Judy Schwambach. Jennifer Smilko. Get up. Julie Reinhardt. All right. They worked so hard, and they worked so long, and they are so pro-library. They are just great. Emily McNulty, Laura Bello, Lori Martin were also part of the board when I started and also did a fabulous job, but have since moved and so are not with us tonight, but they did a great job. We work really hard. We need you to join us. Here comes the commercial. Teresa, who's back there, God love her, she came to the thing tonight. She said to me, "Are you going to talk?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." I'm going to talk. And I think she would have fallen off her chair had I said no. And I am going to talk, and I just want to say to you, it's $10 to join the Friends. We give $10,000 to the summer reading program, $1,000 to Berks Bars, $1,000 to the Literacy Council. We come out and help you with your friends if you have problems or you need help. We give money to friends groups that are getting started. We campaign for advocacy. We produced a video, for God's sake, about the county libraries. We do all those things, and we do them because we believe in the efficacy and the certainty that libraries must continue to exist. And we need you to join us. $10 lousy. Okay? You can give more, okay? But $10 a year. And for that $10, you get our undying appreciation and bookends delivered to your home, okay, via the mail. That's a good bargain. But what we're probably all most proud of right now is that in the not too distant past, the Friends of Berks County Public Libraries donated $20,000 to create a foundation, a rainy day foundation for the Berks County Public Library family. We have libraries that in the past have not been able to pay their staff, who have suffered from fire or flood, who have had to have roofs replaced and who've been unable to do it. And so the Friends have spearheaded this effort to create this foundation so that, God forbid, if some library should have a crisis, there will eventually be funds from which they can draw. I'm happy and proud to say that every member of my Friends Board has contributed to that foundation. Every member. And in a short while, we'll begin a campaign to try to get people to contribute to that foundation so that ultimately there will be enough money that the interest that grows will be able to be used for crises. We're also, of course, going to be running a campaign to see how many people we can get to contribute, and we will be pitting one library board against another, and there will be a prize for the library board that has every member of their board contribute to the foundation first. And details will follow. We're still negotiating the prize because they always think I want to give too much money away. But that's what we're planning to do. So I hope that you will join us. This is a great organization with great people, and you cannot find a better cause. So I appeal to you, please. I just happen to have forms here, and they're very easy to fill out, and if you can't, you can do what I always do, which is call Julie and say, what the deuce do I do with this? And she can always answer it, okay? But they're here, we'll be handing them out, and lest you should worry, we do not find out how much money you give. I have no idea how much money the people on my board contributed to this foundation. But we do know who contributes, because then we can send thank you notes. You cannot find, no, look, you're here not because there's nothing on TV tonight, you know? You can do the Glee rerun from last night or whatever. You're here because you're a library advocate. So step up, grab a piece of paper, and send us money. Okay? Thank you so, so much to the Friends Group and to all of you. I am honored, and this is truly one of the highlights of my life. Thank you so much.